Hey hardware enthusiasts, if you're in the market to build a computer or just upgrading components, well, you're going to want to hear this before you make your next decision. Gigabyte, Samsung, and Western Digital, what do these names have in common? Well, they're all receiving some heat right now for shipping products less than initially advertised, and one of which actually got caught and decided to throw a little shade on the methodology used by the person that exposed them. Well, we'll start this off with a little bit of older news. Western Digital, if you haven't heard, has had a couple class action lawsuits for downgrading their storage NAS devices with slower than advertised technology. They have been blamed for a bait and switch, swapping out the CMR drives or conventional magnetic recording for slower and cheaper SMR devices or shingle magnetic recording. In a test done by Serve the Home, they performed a head-to-head challenge between a CMR and SMR drive. The CMR drive took 17 hours to perform the RAID Z Resilver benchmark, whereas the SMR drive took 230 hours to complete the same task. And that's because shingle recording overlays some data like shingles. It takes longer to record data as the drive has to overlap data and then correct it. The benefit though for SMR is higher capacity drives in the same footprint. After being exposed, Western Digital has now rebranded their hard drives, differentiated them a little bit, but not after losing some trust from consumers. Extreme Tech has called out Toshiba and Seagate for also doing similar swaps. Samsung's NVMe 970 Evo Plus, the one anyone could literally confidently recommend to someone for the price and consistent performance. Right now, they're getting some negative spotlight though, being called out for swapping a crucial component, the controller. Controllers in these have been swapped out for the 980 controllers, and this seems like it would be an upgrade on paper, but in some tests it's actually showed to hinder performance. The reason for this as of late is due to the semiconductor shortage. Samsung, to be fair, and packaging is completely different. Here is the old and new boxes that you can look out for. They also changed the spec sheet, so they did take the high road compared to their competition. Crucial and Patriot have also been called out for swapping components. I would say right now, with everything going on, if there is a storage device that you had your heart set on or really looking at getting, either check what reviewers are saying or really do your research to make sure you'll be getting exactly what you paid for. Well, now for the worst one, Gigabyte and their power supplies. Steve from GamersNexus or Bearded Jesus or Tech Jesus has made a few videos showcasing how Gigabyte's power supply model numbers GPP850GM and GPP750GM can spark and catch fire. This is after reviews surfaced from customers stating their power supply showed up either dead on arrival or had their own spark show to their impending death. The power supply's death, that is. Steve has performed several tests and has caused several power supplies at this point to display what customers were saying in their reviews, highlighting that the OPP or overpower protection in the power supplies are causing the very thing they're meant to avoid. When the power load meets a certain threshold, the power supply is supposed to shut off to prevent damage to either hardware plugged into the power supply or the power supply itself. Instead, what appears to be happening is when the OPP is triggered in the power supply, in a way it's self-destructing. For an example, to give you a reference, your car has a rev limiter. When you accelerate fast, the RPM gauge rises, but at a certain point, the rev limiter kicks in, preventing you from maxing out your RPMs and destroying your engine. But if Gigabyte made your car, this would be like if you went to accelerate fast onto the freeway, and when you hit the rev limiter, instead of it backing off the RPMs and saving your engine, the engine just exploded. The very thing Gigabyte's OPP is meant to prevent, it's actually causing to happen. So that's an issue. Not only is that a problem, but instead of accepting blame, publicly saying that there is a problem with the previously mentioned Gigabyte models, it made a statement saying Steve's testing is what caused the failure. They didn't use Steve's name, but it's directed at him. Well, Steve did not back down and the community definitely had some outrage. Now, Gigabyte is saying the affected SKUs have since had changes made to them and will no longer be a problem, and they will replace PSUs that have exploded, and anyone with one of those models are suggested to contact a local Gigabyte service center. Not taking the blame, but at least they will replace it. I guess that's good news. But I suggest you check out GamersNexus videos on the power supply issues. They're pretty interesting, and you do get to see them pop or explode or spark. But this episode might sound all doom and gloom, but there are still really good hardware out there. This video is just to keep you informed and to remind you to research what you are buying. While it's definitely getting harder for companies to produce part after part with all these shortages and price hikes going on, products that pose a safety risk obviously should never be sent out, and that's what that's for. Well, that's it for this video. If you found this informative, hit that like button. If you want to see upcoming videos, smash that subscribe button, and I will see you all in the next video.